What is this? A Q&A. Where is this? Unlimited. When are these? They're every week. They're supposed to be every Friday, but someone's kind of slacking on that. And how can you get involved? Go to the Unlimited Facebook page. Link to that in the description box down below. And when I post the status that asks for your Q&A questions, that's where you send your Q&A questions. I believe in the simple philosophy of KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I know, how fitting. Something involving the word stupid and something involving me. Whatever. Did not get many questions, but I'm going to try to broaden the answers a little bit. So this Q&A goes a little bit longer, and I'm not just here for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Bryan Collinari, thoughts on the 3 possible triple threat matches for major titles at WrestleMania? I assume you're talking about the women's match. You're talking about WWE Championship match with Kofi, Owens, and Bryan, and then the Universal Championship match with Brock, Roman, potentially, and Seth Rollins. That Universal title match, for the love of God, please do not do that. You bring back Roman Reigns fresh off of cancer, or beating cancer, I should say. And instead of actually letting him, keep the reactions and get the reactions that he's supposed to, you're going to rush him back into the Universal title picture just for him to ultimately be booed again. It's not going to work, so don't do it. Let him come back slowly. Don't rush him back into the main event scene. Don't rush him back into the Universal title picture. Please, for the love of God, just do not do that. Have him go slow. If you're going to have him have a match at WrestleMania, which I really don't think he needs to have a match at WrestleMania, if you're going to give him one, have it be against somebody like a Baron Corbin or something. Something simple just to get him back into the ring, shake off the rust. Even if you did something like Reigns versus Ambrose and have that be Ambrose's, maybe they convince him to re-sign, and maybe you do something where Reigns faces Ambrose and convinces him to re-sign. He beats him to a point where, maybe Ambrose comes to his senses and says, I shouldn't leave, I should stay here because I love this, or, something stupid like that. Do something simple to ease Roman Reigns back into WWE. Do not do the predictable thing and put him back in the same spot that caused fans to almost riot every time he was on television. Please do not do that. As far as the women's match, I've been okay with this. I've been advocating for this. I like what they've been doing. I want them to keep doing it. As far as the WWE title match, I kind of get what they're going for, but do you really want, if you're going to do all 3 of these triple threat matches, do you really want to do 3 triple threat title matches? That kind of seems like the lazy way out. Oh, but it's WWE, so they'll probably do it because that's why. I don't think the WWE title match needs Kevin Owens. I think it needs to be Kofi versus Bryan, and I think it needs to be Kofi going over. If you add Owens to the match and Kofi still goes over, let's say you have Kofi beat Owens, or pin Owens, how does that really help Kevin Owens when he's supposed to be coming back and getting momentum back and all this stuff? And even if you have him beat Bryan, or pin Bryan, it seems like a cool moment, but it would be so much better if it was just one-on-one. So just stick with it being one-on-one. If you're just going to throw Kevin Owens into the triple threat match at WrestleMania, then just have it be Owens versus Bryan. Just have that. What else? Thoughts on Dana Warrior joining the WWE creative team? Sure, why not? Maybe Vince's process or WWE's process is, maybe we need a woman's perspective to help with the creative side of things. Will it really matter, though? As long as Vince is still signing off on everything, you can have the best writers, the best creative geniuses, and Vince will still write it off and sign it off and approve it or decline it. Vince is still calling the shots. So, will it matter? Will it matter? Will we get a Trout Harper combo in Philly? If so, who's the better combo, Stanton and Judge, or Trout and Harper? As far as the second question, well, one of those combos includes the best player in baseball, so you got to go with Trout and Harper. As far as the first question, I think eventually Mike Trout will be going to the East Coast. Whether he goes to the Phillies, whether he goes to the Yankees, ultimately remains to be seen. But he will be leaving LA. There's no way he's staying in LA. The Angels are just not going in a good direction. Don't think Mike Trout wants to be part of that, needs to be part of that, or should be part of that. If he goes to the Phillies, cool. We could finally get Trout and Harper on the same team. If he goes to the Yankees, cool. Not really a surprise, but cool. But he's not staying in the West. He's going to the East Coast. Only way I can see him staying on the West Coast is if he goes to the Dodgers. But other than that, no. He's coming to the East Coast one way or another. Prediction on a ladder match for WrestleMania. What title and participants? I wouldn't do a title. I would just bring back Money in the Bank. Even though out of all of the gimmick pay-per-views, I like Money in the Bank the most because it kind of feels like that big 5 show, or the 5th big show, I should say. I still think that it should be a Mania match, especially if, I just looked at the revised pay-per-view schedule, and Money in the Bank is the second show after WrestleMania. If you're just going to put it after WrestleMania, why not just put it at WrestleMania? But prediction on a ladder match, I'm pretty sure that maybe one of the tag titles will be decided in a ladder match, or maybe one of the mid-card belts, maybe the IC title, maybe the US title. As far as the participants, I couldn't tell you. I really don't know. Is Kyler Murray better off in the MLB or the NFL? Well, he's going to be in the NFL. He already declared for the draft. As far as his wallet's concerned, probably the MLB, especially if he does well. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all that matters. Paul Biello, with the swerve of Owens replacing Kofi at Fastlane, do you think we still see Kofi versus Bryan at Mania? I think we do. I think we should. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're just going to add Owens to the match and make it a triple threat match, then just make it Bryan Owens. Owens does not need to be a part of that match. If he came back a month ago and was built back up properly, maybe can establish himself as a babyface, he can get a couple of victories in his pocket, maybe then you throw him at Bryan. But right now, it needs to be one-on-one, Bryan versus Kofi, some capacity, some way, shape, or form. Hashtag Kofi Mania needs to happen. Period. It absolutely has to. Because WWE has backed themselves into a corner, as they usually do. You've created this monster in Kofi Kingston, and the fans are getting behind him, and the fans are getting crazy about him, like they should. And here's a company, WWE, that's all about making history. First time this, first time champion, Triple Crown winner, Grand Slam champion, first women's this, first men's that, first tournament, first blah, blah, blah. They're all about making history. They're all about doing, being first in something or doing firsts. WWE has not had a black WWE champion. That would be making history. That would be a first. So it must be done. There's no way around it. There's no way to defend it. There's no way to spin it. It must be done. And if it's not done, then WWE is stupid. Yes, it must happen. The match must happen. It must be one-on-one, and Kofi must go over. Period. Christ. Jacob Garnacki closes it out. Winners of the NL East and NL West. Oh, babe. You just put NL West because you wanted me to sit here and say that your Rockies are going to win the NL West and go into the playoffs and sweep everybody and win the World Series. Well, I'm sorry to break your heart, my love. But NL West, LA Dodgers. LA Dodgers until they prove otherwise. Period. That's it. Oh, man. As far as the NL East, you can really make an argument for 4 teams. Pretty much anybody but the Marlins. I mean, if you look at the Mets, for example, and I think the Mets are probably they probably have the slimmest chance, because even though they did improve, they didn't really get the best players. They just got improvements, if that makes sense. You know, they needed a they needed an infielder that was better than anybody they had. So they got Jed Lowry, which I don't mind the signing. I liked the signing, but Manny Machado was available, and you didn't go after him. You didn't even make him an offer. How can you sit here and say, win now, we're going to win now, we're going to beat any team, if you don't go after the best players? But they went out and got Jed Lowry. They finally learned from what I've been saying for the past 4 years, that Travis d'Arnaud is not your catcher, so they went after Wilson Ramos. Good deal. I like that. They made a trade to get a former All-Star, a former MVP candidate, one of the best pure hitters in baseball, Robinson Cano. Good deal. And in that same deal, they got the best closer in the American League last year. And going from the American League to the National League as a pitcher is much better than going from the NL to the AL. So again, good deal. I like that. And not to mention, you still have Jacob deGrom. You still have Noah Syndergaard. You can probably get another good year out of Zach Wheeler before he hits the free agent market. So you look at them, they're an option. You look at the Washington Nationals, they're an option too. They lost Bryce Harper, but that opens up a spot for Victor Robles. You still have Juan Soto. You still have Trey Turner. You still have Anthony Rendon. You lost your catcher in Matt Wieters. You replaced him with Kurt Suzuki. It's a solid move. You already had Scherzer, you already had Strasburg, but you add Patrick Corbin, fresh off of an All-Star year. You add Anibal Sanchez, fresh off of a comeback year. You have Sean Doolittle manning the back end of the pen. You look at the Nationals and say, you know what? They may have lost their star player, but they're not that far out. Anything is possible with them. You look at the Atlanta Braves, and you can see, the transition. You can see the young players start to come in, and they still, even winning the division last year, they still have one of the most stacked farm systems in baseball, if not the second best. Padres have the first, clearly. But the second best farm system in baseball. And that's even with guys like Acuna that are already up on the roster. Not to mention you've already established an ace last year. You had a solid bullpen last year. You still have Freddie Freeman as your big star. And you know what? You could make the argument saying that until somebody else knocks them off their pedestal, they're still going to be the division champions. One way or another. You can make the argument for them. But I think right now it's got to be the Philadelphia Phillies. I think it has to be. As much as I don't want to say that, I have to say that. And I'm actually really excited for the Philly season. Because not only did they add players, it wasn't just all about adding players. They took every negative that they had last year and fixed it in one off season. They weren't a team that hit for average, yet they get a guy in Gene Segura that hit 310, 320, 330, whatever in these last 3 years. He's averaged over a 300 batting average. You could put him right at the leadoff spot or second in the lineup. You went after, you didn't have a catcher. You didn't have a catcher. It was the big weakness, was catcher. You go after the best catcher in JT Realmuto. You didn't have that locker room leader, that big, let me say this again. You didn't have that locker room leader, that general, that guy that everybody can look up to. So you go after an Andrew McCutchen. And then you didn't have that big bat in the lineup. I know they have Rhys Hoskins, and I'm not saying he's not going to be a big bat and he's not going to be a great player. But he's not the guy yet. So you go after Bryce Harper. You didn't have bullpen help last year. Your bullpen was a big problem. Even though you saw glimpses of greatness out of Sir Anthony Dominguez, you needed bullpen help. So what did they do? They went after one of the most consistent relievers in baseball in David Robertson. Not to mention, they have Aaron Nola coming off of a year where he finished in the top 3 in Cy Young. Or he finished as a top 3 finalist for the Cy Young Award. You still have Jake Arrieta. Not to mention, you slide in Mike Calfranco, who, you may not think he's a great hitter, but he's averaging 20 to 25 home runs a season. And he's going to be hitting 6th or 7th for them. Not to mention, you have Cesar Hernandez, who's averaging 280, 290 every year. Top to bottom, this Phillies team has to be the favorite. And I think they are the favorite. And I think they should be the favorite. And I'm really excited to see them this year. As much as I don't like them because I'm a Mets fan, it's got to be the Phillies. Because like I said, it wasn't just about adding players. They took every negative, every problem that they had last year, wiped it away in one offseason. Took the Mets 4 years to realize Travis d'Arnaud was not their catcher. It took the Phillies one offseason to realize we have a lot of problems on our team. We should probably fix them. So there we go. NL East, Philadelphia Phillies, book it. Thanks, guys. See you later.